Good morning, everybody. Okay, today we are going to take a look at the mapping assignment that I gave you yesterday. We are now starting into what could be the most important unit we do in Canadian history, and that is World War I. I know a lot of you know a lot about World War II, but I tend to think that World War I is more important, and I hate to put a prioritization on it. But as a country, World War I brought us further ahead than World War II did. So we're going to spend a little bit of time in World War I. So yesterday I asked you to look at a map and to identify all the different places. And what I've got here, my map is not exactly the same as yours, but what I've done here is identified all the different places that you will need. So if you don't have this done, or if you want to double check yours, now would be a good time to pause the recording and pull yours up and just make sure that all of your countries are in the right spot. Okay? Alright, now if you're back, now what I want to do is to just move this over. Hang on. I want to open up another. There we go. That's the map with the alliances. All right, so the next thing I had asked you to do was to take a look and figure out which countries fought on which side. And as you can see, I've color-coded all of these, which is kind of what I asked you guys to do. So all of the allies are in green, all of the Central Powers are in red, and all of the neutral countries are in this burnt orange country. But you'll notice this, Italy. What do we do about Italy? Because Italy started out as a founding member of the Triple Alliance. So that's the major power bloc that includes Germany, Austria, and eventually the Ottoman Empire. But they were one of the founding, when they say triple, this was the third part of that triple. However, about 2 years into the war, they kind of didn't like the way things were going, and so their president went to Britain, had a secret meeting with the British Prime Minister, changed sides, and then went back to Italy. Now, when he changed sides, he didn't say, oh, well, we'll take all of our Italian troops, and instead of fighting against the Allies, we'll use our soldiers to fight on the side of the Allies. Instead, what they said is, we're not going to fight against you, but we're not going to fight for you either. So they were, by the end of the war, they were allies, but not fighting allies. So that's a little bit different. The other one I wanted to point out is Ireland. Ireland took quite a bit of time to decide which side it was going to fight on. They so hated the English that it was a very close thing that they had thought perhaps they should join the Central Powers, because after all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And I'm not quite sure what tipped the decision, but they did eventually become allies or joined the Allied side. However, the Central Powers like Austria and Germany made use of that ambivalence within the Irish people, and they exploited it. And so when they wanted to send spies into England, as you can imagine, you couldn't exactly catch a flight from, Berlin to London. So instead, the spies would be sent from Germany or from Austria to Ireland, where they would catch a ferry, and they would come into England that way. So during World War I, the Irish people were seen not necessarily as the spies themselves, but as the collaborators of the spies. Sorry, have to have coffee while I'm doing this. Okay, so now we've got the alliances, and you've got two huge central blocks. So you've got this one here. Luxembourg is part of it, but they're kind of tiny. So you've got this huge block here called the Central Alliance, or pardon me, the Triple Alliance. And then on this side, you've got this massive area of Russia. And on this side, you've got this not as massive area, but this is the Allies over here as well. So if you are a German or an Austrian general, this is going to worry you, because in the event of a war, you're going to be forced to fight on two fronts. So on the Eastern Front against the Russians, and on the Western Front against France, Britain, and all the other allies on this side. That created a bit of a problem. So they had to make a choice. The choice was, if a war comes, do we go against Russia first, take out Russia, and then concentrate on the Western side, or do we take out the Western side first and then concentrate on Russia? And it was actually a very difficult decision, because Russia had a very poorly trained army. They were very poorly equipped, which makes it seem like that should have been where they decided to go first. But the reality is that Russia, because it was under a czar, which is kind of like a dictator, he could raise a 1,000,000-man army like that. Nothing flat. And even poorly trained, 1,000,000 men coming at you is going to bowl you right over. On the other hand, if they attempted to come on this side, there, you see the boundary here between France and Germany? Well, that area has been, they've been warring back and forth between these two places for a very, very, very long time. So the French have a huge number of fortifications along here. The French are very, very well trained. The British are very, very well trained. The British have the biggest navy in the world. So your choice is either fight a huge but poorly trained and poorly outfitted army, or fight a much smaller but very well trained and well equipped army. And what the Germans chose was called the Schlieffen plan. They chose that they were going to fight against the western side first. Now you're going to run into the Schlieffen plan in a little bit, so I'm going to explain what it is. Schlieffen was one of the German generals, and he came up with the plan that said, if we have to fight against France, we don't want to go through this border here because of all the heavy fortifications. Instead, we're going to look for the soft underbelly, and that would be coming through Belgium, because this border along here is not very well guarded. The Belgians don't have much of an army, and so the Schlieffen plan was to invade through Belgium into France. So they'd go into northern France, and then they would swing around and end up in Paris. And they felt that that plan would take about 2 weeks. So they felt that within 2 weeks of declaring war, they would be able to be in Paris, France would fall, and then they would be able to concentrate their energies over here. So that was the plan. Okay, so now that we have kind of the players set up, I'd like you to open the next document, which is called International Political Positions Based on the Events Leading Up to the Great War. Sorry, coffee again. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. starting back in 1839, this shows you how long things had been simmering and bubbling that would make the people of Europe so very angry and so very on edge that they'd actually go to a major war like this. So I have selected the 26, I think it's 26, that are the most significant. And what I want you to do is this. So you're going to read through each one. So I've given you a quick rundown of it here. So in 1839, Belgium's neutrality was guaranteed. So what did that mean? It meant that Britain wanted to ensure the neutrality so that they would have a buffer zone between them and Germany if Germany became hostile. So have a quick look back at the map, and you can see here's Belgium right here. And so if Belgium joins Germany, then that means that the German influence is going to be this close to England, and they did not want that. And so they were very, very happy to have the neutrality guarantee. Now, France also wanted to ensure the neutrality because they're not stupid. They knew that that border was vulnerable, and so a guarantee of neutrality meant that the Germans should not be able to invade that way. Germany, however, was not happy because the Schlieffen Plan, which I just explained to you, required that they approach through that border. However, they were hoping that Belgium would come on their side and give them free passage through the territory. So Belgium wanting its neutrality was actually a really bad thing for Germany. Now, Belgium, of course, wants to ensure its own neutrality because, A, that had been its historic position. Remember, the Treaty of Ghent that ended the War of 1812 was signed in Ghent, which is in Belgium. Belgium has always been known as a neutral place. However, in the event of a war, they were very sure that they didn't have enough troops that they would be able to defend themselves. So they were very happy to see that guarantee of neutrality. Okay, so after each one of these things, you will see that I've given you a box. And what I want you to do is take a look. In this one it says Allied reaction to this event, so the guarantee of Belgium's neutrality. Were the Allies positive or negative? Well, of course, this one is going to make them positive. They're very happy about that. The Central Powers, however, not so happy. They're not so happy about that one. So you highlight the ones that are the correct, and there is a correct for each one of these. So I want you to think in terms of who are the Allies, how are they going to react to the event, who are the Central Powers, how are they going to react to the event. So now you're going to read through all the rest of these, and you are going to decide whether this is a positive or a negative for each of the power blocks. So once we have that done, then what I want you to do is to open up the last of the documents that I've given you, and that's called Charting the Events that Led Up to the Great War. Now, with this one, I've given you a chart, and here are all the different things. And what I want you to do is chart the reaction. So the guarantee of Belgium neutrality, the Allies thought that was a good thing. So I'm going to copy that. Hang on. I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to put that right there, because that's positive. Now, at the same time, it is negative for the Central Powers. Okay, so what about this? The Treaty of London establishes Luxembourg's neutrality. Let's go have a quick look back at that one. Okay, so